And now, let's welcome your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, Louise Hicks. In this episode, Black Women on Trial, Racism in America.
Hello, world. How's everybody today? And thank you all for coming in, joining us on the last Sunday of March Madness. March Madness, and I was born in March. I celebrated my birthday the entire month, 71, and blessed to be 71. So this week, we are going to talk about some current issues. We've had a lot of stuff going on in March, actually, but I'm sure the whole world knows now about the first Black woman that is about to be nominated to the Supreme Court of the United States, Miss Ketanji Brown Jackson. And I'm very excited about that. I'm happy to know that we are about to get a Black female on the court system, in which it's long overdue. Should have been back in the 60s when Miss Constance Baker Motley should have been the Supreme Court justice back then, when Thurgood Marshall's seat was vacated. However, that didn't happen because, of course, our society found all kinds of excuses not to put a Black female on the Supreme Court. And actually, did you guys know that President Obama had promised to put a Black female on the court system, but he didn't do it. So I believe now's the time. So does anyone want to comment about that, about the new about to be, because I feel positive that she's going to be appointed. And I've been following the hearings. I don't know whether anybody else has, but I've been following them pretty much, seeing what everybody has to say. And she's really been given a difficult time. However, she's a very brilliant lady, and I do believe that she will be appointed. So does anyone have anything to say about it before we get into some of the discussion as to why? And we do know that it's long overdue. Let's see, I see something in the chat here. You can't hear me? Can anyone else hear me? Can everyone hear me? Nigel says,
Yes,
I can hear you, Louise.
okay, so
yes, we can hear you.
okay, so Nigel, can you log out and come back in, because everyone else can hear me? So I don't know what's going on. Oh, you're good now. Okay, great. Okay, you're all good. So as I was saying, we are embarking upon history, and that's a great thing, because someone like us that's on here right now, mostly females. I see Kenan has joined us, my son. I see my daughter on here. I see Lena is on, Barbara is on, Melba is on, and I really appreciate all of you guys coming on. Lena is on. So we have a great audience today. Shamika is on, and we're just excited about this because it's long overdue. And as you all know, I put up well, some of you may know, some of you may not know. I'm wondering if I could share this. Maybe Ken can get it. Ken, can you get the picture that I sent that shows the target, who's the target, and how females have been used? Do you have, I sent it to you in your email. If you could pull that up for me and share it on the screen. I had planned to have it up, but I had some technical difficulties. I hate when that happens. We never know what's going to happen with the technology. But at any rate, if you could pull that up, if you hear me, pull it up on your email and see if you can share it. I just sent it to you a little while ago because I was having these difficulties and I didn't know whether I'd be able to share that or not. And okay, so if you could pull it up and share it on the screen for me. So at any rate, as I was saying, when I know some of you couldn't hear me, I think we got the hearing problem fixed now, and we're going to share that screen and we'll talk about it. And it's just amazing to me, which is what prompted me to do this show about everything that happens to us as Black people and how our Black men are targeted. That's why so many that are in the prison system. And our Black females are the ones who are pretty much used and have been. And we talked about this when we read the Willie Lynch letter as to where the root cause, where it came from. It's the root cause of how our ancestors were enslaved and how the female was treated so that she could weaken the male. And this has been ingrained in us as Black people. It's something that we have not overcome yet. And it's something that we are working on. That is actually what has caused the great divide among us as Black people, the Black on Black crime, not that other ethnicities don't commit crime. However, I say it about Black on Black crime because of all people, because of all of the atrocities that we've gone through here in America from slavery up until this day. We have been a divided people. Therefore, we are working on doing something about that. And we are coming together. It's starting to happen. However, it's going to take some time. When you, as Dr. Joy DeGruy often say, and if any of you haven't seen any of her videos, please go on YouTube and check out Dr. Joy DeGruy, because she talks about healing and a people like us as Black people who've gone through so many atrocities from slavery up until this day, because it's still happening. We are going to continue to have these problems. And I always like to talk about this book by Dr. Claude Anderson, Black Labor, White Wealth. And he talks about this, and I want to read something from you because from the book, and I shared with you guys that I had read the book back in the 1990s. And it was very enlightening to me reading his book because he is a very brilliant person. And a lot of us talk about the problems, but we don't talk about the root cause of why Black America is really in chaos now. And back in the 90s, when I read this book, I picked it up and I've been looking at it, and I kind of saw some things that I had highlighted, and I wanted to talk about it today because it's give me a minute, you guys, here. Put something in the chat. Ken is trying to bring that picture up for me, and I'm telling him about it so he will be able to do it for me. But in the book, I had highlighted a few things, and one is about the problem. And we know some people say all the problems are the teen pregnancy, the drugs, and the anger, the rap music, unemployment, and all of these, and the violent crime, the Black on Black crime. However, Dr. Anderson so clearly states that this is not the problem. These are the symptoms of the problem, which I agree with wholeheartedly, because they are symptoms of the root cause of the problem. And we read about the problem. And it just brought back to me when I saw the hearings and Judge Ketanji being drilled on so many aspects of her becoming a justice. And it just brought back a lot of memories to me. So I went back through my book, I picked it up and I looked at some of the highlights that I had done. And this is one of them. He said, the root of the problem within Black America is not teenage pregnancy, drugs, the decline in family values, anger, rap music, unemployment, or even the epidemic of violent crime. These are only symptoms of the deeper problem. The root problem in Black communities across America is race and the unjust distribution of our nation's wealth, power, and resources. And I agree with that. And when we look back, the reason I did this, that Ken is gonna share the screen with us and show us why, and I'm gonna discuss that further, because the root cause is exactly what he's saying. These are symptoms that we are addressing, a lot of us today. We're not addressing the root cause. The root cause has to do with the distribution of the nation's wealth, power, and the resources. And when you don't have resources and you don't have any power, you're powerless. What can you do other than create these symptoms in Black America that we're dealing with today, which is, it's disheartening because it has put Black women, at single Black women with that are heads of households, at pretty much a zero net worth, and the whole collective Black ethnic group at the bottom of the network of all ethnicities, whites, Asian, Latinos. We're at the bottom. We've gone backward, and we have to change the trajectory of that. That's the only way we're going to come together and survive in this country as Black people. We're going to have to deal with the symptoms and the root cause. And let me read another passage that I wrote. And Dr. Anderson concludes that it is clear that Blacks must both solve their own problems and structure a national plan of action that puts their priorities first and foremost. Self-empowerment is the only road to economic justice, but it requires the support of a national policy and plan of action. And that's why I created Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour as the mad Black woman, Louise Hicks. And the mad is for motivated and determined, because anger does come into play. And Black people have a right to be angry, but that doesn't give us the right not to help ourselves and become self-supporting and self-sufficient, to stop killing one another, stop the great divide, because we know all of this is by design. And it's up to us to change it by empowering ourselves. And that is going to be the solution, self-empowerment. And I go on to read something else that I highlighted in the book. What is power? We got to figure out what that power is. We want to empower ourselves because we're sick and tired, I know I am, of the government handing out crumbs and we as Black people accepting those crumbs rather than working to elevate ourselves, because we do have the capabilities. We are a brilliant melanated people collectively. So it's up to us to elevate ourselves. We should not sit back and depend on anybody to empower us. We must empower ourselves. That's how we're going to elevate our net worth and move ahead. And now, what is power? So power is defined by Webster Dictionary as the ability to bring about fulfillment of one's desires and need. This is from the book, Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson. And he also goes further and says, along the same line, Thomas Sowell, S-O-W-E-L-L, An economist defined the term power in a much broader sense in his book. He says, the economics and the politics of race, he adds the qualifier that power is not simply the ability to get something done, but to get it done despite the resistance and opposition of others. And it is the last definition of power that is used in Dr. Anderson's book, as he so eloquently states. And that's how we have to look at it. We know we have resistance. However, we can get and fulfill the desires of our heart. We have to have a plan, an action plan. We need to be collectively coming together. And I see your comment, Melba, you like that. Yes, because that's what we have to do. And that's why I chose the last month of March Madness, my birth month, and I guess I'm a warrior for justice and that mad Black woman born in March. So God gave my mother the right timing and the right name for me, because my name, Louise, in German means warrior, famous warrior, actually. So I came here from birth being a warrior for justice. I didn't know what my assignment was at the time. And when God gives us an assignment, we need to take that assignment on, as long as it's a positive, because God is not going to give us anything negative to hurt or harm anybody. When God gives us an assignment, it's going to be something to empower us, because God tells us in the Bible, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power. And that's what this is all about, power. It's not simply the ability to get something done, but to get it done despite the resistance and opposition of others. And we know that we have been an oppressed people, I should say, since we were brought to this country from Africa by the slaves, the white oppressors or white supremacists, as I should say, 1619, and it's still going on today, 2022. It's just that we don't have the shackles, but they're invisible because many of us are still enslaved in the mind. That's why it's so important that we have a renewing of the mind. This is what brings us together. And I'm going to read another passage here from the book. And it says, the strength of the powerless is its knowledge of the powerful. So what Dr. Claude Anderson is saying here, we have to take a look at how others have gained this power. It didn't just happen by chance. You have to have a plan of action and work collectively as we are Black people and come together. And he goes on to say, if Blacks are to change their marginal condition, they must know the secret to other racial and ethnic groups' wealth and power. So what does that mean? It means that we can learn from others. It's just like educating our children on our history. We have to know our history in order to educate our children, because they're not going to get it in the white institutions, the white educational system. You're not going to get our history. And I know we have heard a lot about the critical race theory, how a lot of the states are working to keep critical race theory out of the schools, college level, elementary level, every level that you can name, because they do not want to know our history and do not want us to know our history. Sadly, we don't know our history, a lot of us. We don't know the root cause of why all these symptoms occur. And Barbara says here, let me read the chat. Thank you for your participation. If anybody has anything to say verbally, or you want to put something in the chat, please do. Barbara just put something in the chat here that says, As Dr. George C. Frazier says, we as Blacks become collectively. We can tie up everything as a, this is how we take our power back. This is our only way of getting back up. And I agree with that. We have to come together collectively. Think about it. If you're on a sports team, you are doing a team sports. You're working to help your team to win and cause the other team to lose. And Dr. Claude Anderson talks a lot about that part too, about team sports and how we need to practice group economics. And he talks about it in his other book, Powernomics. These are two books that I would say every Black person particularly, but I wish everybody would read Black Labor, White Wealth and the Powernomics book, because this is how we also can show love for one another. It's difficult to show love when you're starving to death or you have no power. You don't know where your next meal is coming from. You don't know where you're going to sleep the next night. You don't know whether you're going to have a roof over your head. That has to be demoralizing. It's devastating. We think about the homeless people, and we know Los Angeles is the homeless capital of America and maybe the world. Skid Row, there's so many people, and I lived in California almost 50 years, so I know California. It's not, I'm not going on what I've heard. I've been on Skid Row. I've been in one of the places down there looking for my son, David. And anybody that knows about me know that I wrote an award-winning book about my son that took me to places that I did not want to go. And I'm going to show you that my book as well. I'm showing everybody else's book all the time. My book is not in publication right now. Give me a minute, you guys. But this is my book, A Hill to Climb, a teenager's battle with cancer, depression, and drug addiction. And this book is a chronicle of what I went through with my son, David, who is now 40, and he was 14 in 1995 when he was diagnosed with a rare bone cancer that almost cost him his leg. However, he has his leg now, and it's devastating because it left him scarred physically, mentally, emotionally. He was left scarred. And I'm still having to help take care of my son to this day because he's not capable at this time of living on his own. So he's been in and out of hospitals. He's been dumped on the streets. And when we see things like this happen and we have to go to our government for help, and we see how this system is so chaotic and troublesome now, it really makes you think about what is going on here. So thank you, Barbara. Yeah, for that about the book. I would love to see this book, and I've been, I know one day I'm praying that it'll come true, that this book, my book here, will become a movie one day, because we don't talk enough about mental health in our community. It seems to be a stigma with a lot of us, and it shouldn't be. Because as Dr. Joy DeGroot talked about, we're suffering, many of us, from post-slave distress because we've never healed, and it's been passed on generation after generation. And I go back to what I shared here. I'm gonna see if I can share it maybe from my, let me see if I can share it on my cell phone, what I was telling you guys about, because maybe I can from here. Because it goes right back to the root cause of all the problems, why I chose to choose the topic today. Because I really want to Well, this is the one, you see this one here. This is what prompted me to do this. And you can see it on my cell phone. The Black Women on Trial, Racism in America, the discussion for today. And we as Black women, when we look at Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson here, it made me think back and look at some of the things I've gone through. I think as Black women, most of us who are adults, or maybe all of us, can say we walked in her shoes in some form or fashion. And as I watched her, it just made me think I needed to talk about this, because it's us as women that have been used in our society, and it was by design. We've always been used, and it's still happening. And the major target is the Black man. And I did this design here. Let me share this one with you. Can everyone see this? I know it's not as big as I would like it to be, because when I saw her and how she was being drilled, it just brought back so many memories to me as a Black woman, 71 years old or young, however you want to look at it, and how we as Black women have been treated in America. We have been treated worse than any other ethnic female in America. Raped during slavery, our ancestors. And I feel now we are being mentally raped. I don't know how you guys feel, but I've felt it on my jobs. I felt it in education, in dealing with my children, sometimes having to go out to the school. Whether it's overt or covert, we've dealt with it. And I'm going to give you some examples of how it made me feel. I recall when I was working very diligently in the county of Los Angeles, and one of my colleagues had gotten a promotion, a white female with nowhere near my credentials. I had graduated from California State University, Long Beach with a bachelor's degree in social work. I had gone back to school and got a certificate in computer science. And I had gone and taken further courses. So I was overqualified, really. And when this person got a promotion, I went and asked for a promotion because it was overdue and I deserved it. And let me tell you what I was told by the white boss. He told me, "You make enough money," point blank, looking me in the face. And like I've shared with everyone, I have lots of stories that I can tell about the working environment as a Black female who worked with oftentimes mostly white males rather, because of the field that I specialized in. And believe me, it was no joke. So when I was told that, it brought back when I was watching Judge Jackson being questioned by Cruz from here in Texas, where I moved to, and Graham and Holly. It just brought back so many memories to me. And that's why I chose it, because Black women, I felt we're all on trial. Every day of our lives, we're on trial because of who we are, how intelligent we are. Because they don't want you, the white supremacists. And I'm not talking about all white people. Because if there weren't some decent white people, we would still have the shackles on. It's the ones whose hearts are full of hate, jealousy, envy, that by design created all kind of laws to keep us enslaved. That's who I'm talking about. And that's why I started this show. And when I was told that, and I heard Judge Brown Jackson, Judge Ketanji being questioned, and I'm saying, obviously, they do not want her to excel any higher. A lot of it most likely was jealousy, because this is a Black female, a brilliant Black female. Now, the other thing that comes into play, and I've heard some people say, and we have to be transparent and open about our feelings too, because that's the only way we're going to come to a harmonious society, because a lot of us will bury our heads in the sand and pretend like none of this stuff exists. I don't know whether you all know or knew, Dr. Ketanji is married to a white physician. And sometimes some people on each side, some on the Black side, feels that how can she possibly be a judge and sit on the bench being married to a white man and be fair? She can be, and I'm not saying she won't be, because she can be. Who she married is her business. And I'm sure it has crossed a lot of our minds. And I'm sure on the other side, ethnic wise, they may have been angry because she did marry this white man. Because if you all don't know, there were laws that stated that interracial marriages were forbidden. And Dr. Anderson, I told you about his book. He put some of these laws in the book. And I'm going to tell you when they came into being, somewhere in the North and somewhere in the South. And some of us think all this stuff just happens in the South. No, I've lived in both. And I'm telling you, it's just as much hate and discrimination in the North, West, East, South. Is all over. And this is one here that's really, really crazy. And it's one from the South Carolina. This was a law created in 1841 in South Carolina that forbade Blacks and whites from looking out the same windows. Did you guys know that? I mean, the white supremacist ideology ran really, really crazy hate. And it still goes on today. And it's all by design, mentally, to rape the Black female, because the physical rape went on with our ancestors, and to keep the Black man, who is the target, incarcerated. Why do you think there be more prisons than schools, even though the educational system is not the best? And we had Dr. Roma Benjamin on here who shared with us how she was treated as a Black woman, because she was an intelligent, highly intelligent Black woman. And to get where she was treated the same way as most Black women are. You're not qualified according to the white supremacy society. And this is why we never had a female, Black female on the United States Supreme Courts. And I'm praying that she will get this seat, because it's long overdue. So does anyone have any questions? Did you find it, Ken? Were you able to share that? I'll show it again. See if you guys can see this. Can you all see this screen on my
Yeah, but what are we looking at here?
it says
American.
I see you, Ken, but I couldn't, it didn't come up. They say it's not clear. And mine is not
Well,
showing.
it's just small, Louise. If it was bigger, I think we
I
could.
know. Unfortunately, I can't. But anyhow, if you go on my Facebook page, you can see it. It says The Art of the Insult, American Racism. And I created this. I designed this myself. And it shows Democrats and Republicans is one snake. And it shows a snake with two heads. And it shows the Democrats with one head and the snake has the other head with the Republicans, because that's pretty much what we're getting as Black people. And if you look back at the presidents of the United States, Ken has it up there on his too, if you guys can kind of see a little bit. But apparently we aren't able to share it for whatever reason. However, it's from 1619 to 2022. And I'm showing on here the Supreme Court. I'm showing the legislative body. And it's all white. The art of the insult. Everything. And this is the American racist society that we live in. And that's why I put the one snake there showing two heads, the Democrats and the Republicans, because that's, if you can see this, Ken has his up, but I'm going to try and show it here. It's a little bit of a glare.
Okay, yeah.
Can you see that now?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah,
Okay.
I just didn't know what it was. But
okay,
yeah.
That's what it is. And I have Lindsey Graham here. I have, for those of us who are from the state of Texas, I have this one here, Cruz. You guys know who he is, right? I have Holly from the state of Missouri. And there is the riot, the January 6th insurrection.
Mhm.
And like I said, it's on my Facebook page. And at the bottom of it, I have the result. This is the result of white supremacy. There's a Black man with welts on his back where he's been beaten. There's the slave ship that they brought over, the Black people over on. That's right there. And here at the bottom of the screen, this is how Blacks were treated when we wanted liberation and freedom. Water hosed, dogs told to go get us, eat us, kill us. And I'm just depicting what brought to mind, to me, when all of this went on with the hearing, when I hope she will be confirmed and will be on the Supreme Court. But just go on my Facebook page, like I said, and you can see it clearly, because it's an insult to us from both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, and we keep voting for them, and we are still going through all of these symptoms of in the Black community. And the symptoms come from the root cause of all these different laws. And like I said, I can't say enough about this book. And I'm gonna share with you a few more laws. And I showed you on here too, the target, how our men are incarcerated. If you can see here. The target is our Black men. That's to keep the Black family structure out of whack. And they use the Black women to do it. And here this woman is, Ketanji, Judge Ketanji, on trial, like all Black women are on trial. We're all on trial. Becky and Karen can do whatever they want. And I want to bring that to your attention. Were you all aware of what Judge Thomas's wife is doing? Here they are. She's in the green dress with Judge Thomas. She's putting out text messages, helping to incite the January 6th insurrection. Were you guys aware of that?
Yeah, I heard about that.
This is the sitting judge of the United States Supreme Court, President Bush's old man Bush, not the young Bush, the first Bush president. This is his niece who's married to Clarence Thomas. And a lot of people didn't know that because they don't talk about it. But his niece, Jenny Thomas, the old Bush, is out here helping to incite and put President Trump back into office. And this is recent stuff. She's texting all over the place. I mean, it's like Karen and Becky. You can do whatever you want to do, but you let a Black woman do anything. And I like what Cory Booker had to say. And I don't know whether you guys knew what he had to say to Judge Ketanji, because it was so insulting how this woman is being treated. He said, Republicans are gonna accuse you of this and that. This is from Senator Cory Booker. I think it's only about 3 Black senators in Congress. And this is Cory Booker, the Black senator from New Jersey. He says, Republicans are gonna accuse you of this and that, but don't worry, my sister. Don't worry. God has got you. And how do I know that? Because you're here. And I know what is taken for you to sit in that seat. You have earned this spot. You are worthy. You are a good American. This is Senator Cory Booker, who had Judge Ketanji in tears. And she was in tears because it was heartfelt what Senator Booker said to her. And I understand that because of the things I've gone through. I even had another quick story. And I'm gonna, if you guys want to say anything, otherwise we're gonna end. But I just wanted to come in and talk about this because it's all by design. Another quick story. When I was employed in the county of Los Angeles, up for a promotion over as a department head, passed the test and everything, had my degree, all kind of experience, had been a supervisor, everything, division head. At the time, I had been a supervisor. I became a division head later. And when I tell this story, it really makes me angry. Not mad, because I'm motivated and determined mad, but it makes me angry because of what happened to me. I was on the list, and the powers that may be were not going to interview me. They were going to interview this white man that didn't pass the test and appoint him to the position without me knowing it. And by the time I found out he was my boss, he would have been in the position and didn't pass the test. And plus, his work didn't even meet my expectations or anybody's expectations from what we were supposed to do. And I happened to find out what was going on through a reliable resource that came and asked me, have you been interviewed? And I said, no, I didn't know they had started the interviewing process. And they told me, yes, they have. You need to call and tell them. I was number 1 on the decentralized list. So I went and called and found out what was going, after I found out what was going on. I got the interview, and of course I got the position because they had no choice then. And the rumor had it that this man said, oh, he'd never worked for this Black woman. He probably called me something else, but it was okay because of what happened before. I didn't want him to work for me, actually, because his work was not up to my expectations. And I do have ethics and integrity. So at any rate, I got the position and he did not work for me. They allowed him to work for somebody else. And I said, okay. He worked for the person, he reported to the person that the position that I replaced reported to them. And he had the audacity to come into my face, shake his finger in my face, and told me what he did over the weekend. Shook his finger in my face like this. Lady, I went out this weekend and shot up a bunch of ducks because I should have got that position. And it reminds me when I saw Judge Jackson going through what she was going through from these white males, and probably I think a Karen and a Becky or whatever. It just reminded me of all the things that I've gone through as a Black female to elevate myself, worked hard, earned it, put myself through college. I put myself through college. My parents did not have the financial resources to put me through college. I worked myself through college. Riding a bus at night. I have other stories. Dealing with white perverts because I had to walk. They would come into our neighborhood and feel they could expose themselves. White males, perverts. I had that to happen to me too. In California and Louisiana when I was a little girl. In California as an adult in college. So I'm saying we are used as Black women, always have been, still is, because they don't want to see any Black person elevate themselves. That's why I am this mad Black woman, motivated and determined to help my people become self-sufficient, self-supporting, empower us so we don't have to depend on the crumbs from the snakes, the two-headed snake with one body, Democrats and Republicans, because they're one and the same. So with that said, when I got the position, there's more to it from the whites who resented me, even though I was overqualified for the position. Ran the department with no problems because I knew what I was doing. I knew how to be a leader. So at any rate, does anyone have anything to say? Because otherwise we're going to end the show. And I wish Dr. Ketanji, I wish her the best. I pray that she gets the position, which I believe she will. And get this book by Dr. Claude Anderson. He outlines all these laws, North and South, where they did everything they could, created laws to keep us from doing what we needed to do. There were laws created to keep us from reading, to keep us from congregating together. And that still went on in the 20th and 21st century. Because when I worked in the county of Los Angeles, when they saw us as Black people, 2 or 3 of us gathered together, oh, they wanted to know, oh, are you on a break? But white people could do it, never heard them ask them. They could go and stay as long as they wanted. So I've gone through a lot, and I get angry when I think about some of this stuff. And this is a Georgia literacy law that was created or signed off in 1829, provided fine and imprisonment for teaching a Black person to read. This was in Georgia. Another one in Mississippi, 1831, forbade free Blacks to preach except with permission. So you have to ask Massa, or Massa, as some would call them, could you preach? I mean, this is ridiculous what Black people have had to go through. And here's another one in Virginia. A Virginia poll tax, 1815, required free Blacks to pay a $2.50 tax so whites could vote. This is from Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth. And here's a northern one. It just didn't happen in the South. One in Indiana, 1831, Indiana mobility law required Blacks to register in order to work and post bond. And of all places, your District of Columbia, 1836, District of Columbia business license law prohibited licensing Blacks for profit-making activities. So does that tell you that this white supremacy society wanted us to succeed? It's heartbreaking and it's disheartening. So with that said, does anyone want to have any say? If so, speak now, and we're going to, I wish, like I said, I wish Judge Ketanji the best, and I pray that when she gets on the bench that she will be fair, and I believe she will, and hope and pray that she will, regardless of who she's married to. The fact that she's married to a white physician doesn't mean that she can't be fair. And you're welcome, Barbara. I appreciate you all coming in today, everyone. And just to let you know, I mentioned that I'm going to have Minister Fred Shaw on next Sunday. We're going to talk about mental health in the field of psychiatry. And then in the month of May, just giving you a heads up on that, we're going to have a vision board event. I'm going to facilitate 3 vision boards. The whole month of May is going to be devoted to vision boards for Black heads of household. That's going to be our major primary focus. However, anybody can come in and do the vision board. I'm going to facilitate it. I've done it before here at my home. I've done many vision boards. So that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on Black female heads of households. So if you know anybody that's a head of household, Black female, by all means, beginning the month of May, that's what we're going to do. It's going to be a $25 fee. So it's not going to be free, because we have to learn that everything can't be free, even though our forefathers worked for free and were suffering all kinds of beatings and atrocities as a result of it, rapes and everything else, hangings. But this is not going to be a free event. So with that said, if no one has anything to say, I want to thank you all for coming in. I appreciate your time. Again, I apologize for the situation with technology that I had. Hopefully it'll be cleared up by the next time I have it. Otherwise, I will go to an alternative resource in order to start the show. So with that said, have a great Sunday, and I wish everybody well. And as I always say in parting, your power lies within you. Let it loose. Until next week.